Hey now, hour number 2 of the line, Talk 99.5, talk995.com, and on the Talk 99.5 app. You'll hook that up and get with us. Big hour ahead, man. Got a lot to get to. But as I stated, I had my man Charles. We had to hold over because we had to hit the break. And Charles, I think we left off on, you were talking about Hank Johnson.
Yes, Hank Johnson. I know this guy. He used my boys were small. He used to be the principal, and he was a doofus then, and he's one now. And he only got that position because the Democrats was unhappy with Cynthia McKinney, and so they found someone that they could really control. He's only there for his vote. Not one black liberal politician ever put forth a bill that really benefits the black community that would get bipartisan cooperation. I know this may sound crazy to some people. John Lewis was the black Benedict Arnold and a traitor to his race. He is not known for putting forth any type of bill that would benefit the black community. He was only there as the face and to help galvanize other black liberal politicians for their votes. That's it. So the redistricting can be a great thing for the black community because you will get commerce because there's no commerce in the black neighborhood. Our schools are being dilapidated. Crime is running rapid, and so I'm for stop and frisk because no politician even bring that up. But our crime is still going higher. So a liberal black politician is the worst thing for the African American community.
Yeah, you bring up a couple things there. Hank Johnson is quite the doofus. I mean, even though we didn't know him as far back as you did, I mean, he's shown himself to be quite the character with his time in Congress. And John Lewis, I've always been fascinated as to why John Lewis was put on such a pedestal, and it seemed to be just because the people he rubbed elbows with. It was never because of what John Lewis did. It was just because
I have a secret for you. I'm from Atlanta. You can't change history with me. In 1988, when he ran for that seat, he ran against Julian Bond. Julian Bond was known also as a civil rights icon. The race was tight. John Lewis went to the press and told the press that Julian Bond was using cocaine and was cheating on his wife, and they put that out. And that's how John Lewis won that seat.
It sounds like a very John Lewis thing to do, honestly.
It is. I can say I'm from Atlanta. You can't change history with me, and I'm a black conservative. I get more flap, and I've been called all sorts of things worse than. I'd rather deal with a racist person than deal with a racist black person being a conservative.
Yeah, I can imagine that you deal with a lot of it. And honestly, do you feel like that in the black community that people that may even want to entertain conservative ideas are kind of pushed into silence and they just don't bring it up because of things like you've had to deal with for being an outspoken conservative?
Oh yes. I've I can't even could barely have a conversation with some family members, and it gets real heated because I always ask one question: what is it that Democrats have done for you that give you their allegiance? What? And that right there, that starts. That's like a keg of dynamite. It just explodes from that point because they can't answer the question because they're brainwashed. The African American community is three. I call it the three B's. They've been bought, bribed, and brainwashed. And that's it.
Yeah. And it seems like it'd be a pretty easy question to answer if you've got that style or that level of allegiance to a political party that you'd be able to easily answer, what they've done for you. But, again, that's like you said, that's why they get so defensive.
Racism in the black community is money. That's it.
Yeah.
It's money. And
Yeah.
that's why it's always brought up, this person racist, this person racist, really. And I always ask this question, what makes your white person better than mine?
Yeah. Well, listen, Charles, good stuff, man, and I appreciate the phone call. I appreciate you holding for us and all that, and give us a call back
Oh
anytime,
man, I
buddy.
love your show. I love your show. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate it, brother. There's Charles,
Bye bye.
truck driver out of Atlanta,
Yeah, baby.
hot Atlanta.
Truck drivers love us.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Maybe it's because my dad was a truck driver. That's probably why.
You probably got this thing about you that they can sense.
I got a truck driver aura about me. I spent a little bit of time as a kid in Atlanta because that's where my grandpa lived, and I mean, I was a lot younger, so I wasn't necessarily, following Principal Hank Johnson around or anything like that. But it was.
Do you let you drive the truck?
My dad?
Yeah.
Oh no.
No.
No, absolutely not. No, I had no interest though. I was I was too busy with like Ninja Turtles or something.
Yeah.
I was like, drive a truck? That's stupid. I got Ninja Turtles to play with. I don't want to do that. But anyway, I brought that up because of what's going on in Montgomery today with the redistricting and everything else. And it's just the arguments that I'm hearing from protesters are so utterly absurd. And listen, protest your little heart out. It's not going to change anything. You're not going to, just because you got 27 people down in Montgomery chanting white supremacy, stop white supremacy, it's not going to change a Supreme Court ruling. Like, it's done. You might as well move on to the next issue because it ain't going to change, bub. It ain't going to change. And what's happening is the Democrat Party has whipped people into a frenzy over their own interest, right? So we've confirmed that Democrats pander for the vote every 2-4 years. They get the vote, and then they proceed to do nothing during their term to benefit the people that voted for them, right? Well, now that their jobs are at risk and their gravy train is at risk, they have gone back to their people and whipped them into a frenzy saying, hey, we can't do anything for you if you guys don't go out there and fight for us. And so, and obviously the reason all this is happening is because of white people or something. Even though, there was a black guy on the Supreme Court that voted for this ruling that doesn't allow us to redistrict based on race.
Oh, yeah, but he's an Uncle Tom, so he doesn't count.
That's true. Clarence Thomas is definitely not black. Although they sure did they sure did treat him the way Democrats treat black conservatives. They treated him like he was black when he was getting confirmed.
Yep.
Remember Joe Biden giving him the business and all the things he went through during his nomination process. What was it? The pube on the Coke can and all that kinds of stuff.
I know. I mean, come on.
And by the way, think about this. The tactics of the Democrats, they don't change. If they don't like you, they will pull out the dirtiest of tricks. What did they do to Brett Kavanaugh? Same thing they did to Clarence Thomas.
Oh, man. I was doing some work at a house, so I was able to watch pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, dude. It's just the same playbook, man. It's not like they do not like they switch it up or they get innovative. They do the same old thing. And the reason for that is because their voters let them do the same old thing. They let them do the same thing time after time, just as hey, we come pander to you during election season. We don't do anything for you in between, and we come back when it's time to get reelected. The voters allow that. And the thing is, the politicians will continue to do what you allow them to do. I want to go back, and this is kind of piggybacking off of what I was talking about with Trump yesterday and how he literally changed the entire landscape of politics. As Republicans, we got crappy leadership out of Republicans because we allowed them to be crappy leaders for so long. Yeah, you had a Tea Party movement, and you had a cluster of people pop up and try to fight back against that subpar representation that we were getting out of the Republican Party, but it got quashed pretty quick. But Republicans had been just as guilty as Democrats of just towing the line in the status quo. They don't do anything for you. They come back, pander for your vote. They say, what are you going to do? Vote for Democrats, and then continue to do nothing for you. And then Donald Trump comes along and he says, you know what? I'm actually going to do what all these Republicans said they were going to do, but they don't. And he raised the bar. And what has happened since then? Yeah, we still got a lot of weak-kneed Republicans, but how many Republicans now have come in the game or changed their tune because they're being held accountable in the age of Donald Trump? We, the American people, elected Donald Trump in 2016 and 2024 and 2020 for that matter, and sent the message to the rest of the party that we're tired of the old Republican politics. We're tired of you not doing anything. So what we're doing is we're going to the extreme and electing somebody like Donald Trump. If you're a Democrat and you're sick of Democrat politicians not doing anything for you, you know what your extreme is? Your extreme would be going out there and voting for a Republican. That sure as hell would get their attention and let them know, hey, if you're not going to do for me, I'll go out here and vote for the other side. And then I'll give you 2 to 4 years to change my mind to come back around. But until then, I'm going to teach you a lesson. That's one thing people have to understand, and I don't think enough people do, is you have the power with your vote to change the attitude of what gets done by your politicians. And Donald Trump being elected twice, technically 3 times, is absolute proof of that. Bubba said Hank Johnson puts the D in dumb. He puts the D from Democrat in dumb. Gotta remember, he's the one that said Guam was going to tip over. Too many people got on Guam.
That's the genius.
Yeah, that's Hank Johnson. Don't you think Guam's going to tip over? If we have too many people on there?
How stupid can you be?
It's pretty funny. I mean, it's a statement that goes down in political history. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Not sure if that's the way I want to be remembered.
And speaking of John Lewis, I mean, the one thing about John Lewis that will always stick out in my mind is actually, wasn't really John Lewis at all. It was something John Lewis had his name attached to. And even here in Birmingham, we've got murals on the side of buildings that of John Lewis, paintings of John Lewis. And I'm like, what does John Lewis have to do with Birmingham? Well, he's a civil rights leader. No, he's a politician. He's a politician. He's not a civil rights leader. Just because he walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge a few years in a row doesn't mean he's a civil rights leader. He's much like Al Sharpton. He's a guy that takes advantage of situations, and it was perfect actually that they attached his name to the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which everybody recalls was the bill, if it were to have passed in Congress, would have given complete control to the federal government over the elections. It would have given power to the Attorney General, which at that time would have been Merrick Garland, as to how each and every state in the United States of America could conduct their elections. So, for instance, if we wanted to, secure our elections in a certain way here in Alabama and make sure everything was on the up and up, such as, cleaning up our voter rolls or banning mail-in ballots or whatever, we would have had to have gotten the approval of one Merrick Garland, and that would have been struck down immediately, as you know. And the only holdout in the Senate on that, the Democrat holdout at the time was who was it? Oh, it was what's his name? Joe from West Virginia. God, what was his name? He's not in the Senate anymore. He ended up ultimately switching to the independent ticket. Senator Joe, come on, John Burr, what's his name?
Joe Smith, I believe, according to this information. No, I'm
just having a brain fart. It's Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin.
That's right.
That's it. I had to Google it real quick. Joe Manchin. He was like he was the one that said no, I'm not going to vote for it, even though he was getting pressured from the likes of Nick Saban. And I'm convinced that Nick Saban didn't even know what he was doing. I think he was pressured by other people and was like, hey, you're from West Virginia. Can you send a letter to Joe Manchin and tell him to vote for this? And Nick Saban had voted Democrat previously. And now, ironically, he's working with Donald Trump on collegiate sports, Even he came around. It was like, okay, that's enough,
That makes him an even greater coach in my eyes.
But the problem was with Nick Saban, that was his biggest mess up, in my opinion. He should have never got involved in politics in the first place, but he also was involved in Black Lives Matter marches and stuff like that, and none of that was good for him. But, I mean, as a Tennessee fan, I couldn't cheer for Nick Saban anyway, so as he was doing those things as Alabama's coach, I'm like, yeah, he sucks. Get him. But, I think he's all right now. I think he's turned over a new leaf. All right, a couple things. I'm going to kind of let me lay this out real quick as best I can. And I know this seems irrelevant based on what we've been talking about, John Burr, but I knew you'd find this important. You know the Met Gala, right?
The Met Gala, yes.
The Met Gala, big, all the rich people.
Dressing up
and all that kind of stuff. I even noticed The Rock was there, Dwayne Johnson, and he was wearing a skirt. And I thought, no,
it wasn't.
don't do that.
No.
Now, And then I saw the interview, and he's like, "Well, wearing a skirt is actually masculine," and I'm like, "No, don't do it." And he said, "It's masculine in my culture, like the Polynesian Islander culture." And I'm
That's
like,
right.
"Okay, if you're gonna attach it to that, I'll give you a pass." But I don't want some sort of, looking out here acting like Will Smith's kids or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, what sort of material and what was the design on it?
It did not look tribal. I will say that.
Okay,
It
all
was
right,
like a
all right.
tuxedo top with a black skirt. Not like a short skirt, like a long skirt.
It wasn't. Please tell me it wasn't like chiffon and roughly.
No. It was just I don't even want to talk about it because it gets me upset. Because I don't want it to be the case.
Come on, Rob.
I'm just saying it's a cultural thing, and I'm letting it go. But the big story was a model at the Met Gala who checks every single box for the lunatic left. Are you ready for this?
What you got?
For once, the issue at hand wasn't what people wore or didn't wear, but rather the way people were being described at this year's Met Gala. If you've given any attention to this year's Met Gala, you've no doubt heard about Ariana Rose Phillip, who is a runway model who recently signed with a major modeling agency. She was the talk of the town for this year's Met Gala.
Mm-hmm.
But if you haven't heard about her, you probably assume that she got some glowing coverage and people were gushing about her personality or some viral moment she had online. But that's not the case. Instead, our decrepit culture focused on four things almost exclusively about this girl. She is black. She is transgender. She has quadriplegic cerebral palsy, and she is the first such model to sign with a major modeling agency.
You know what? I mean, take out the trans and the black, and that's inspiring. But, the black, unnecessary. They can see that. And the trans, why?
She is a black transgender quadriplegic cerebral palsy.
So it's a chick with it rhymes with chick, right?
It's a chick with a D in a wheelchair
that claims. Man, I'd like to see
but that's
that.
it.
I'd like to see that on the runway.
Nothing about.
God.
Hey, listen, there's no running for her on that runway. It's called a rollway. But nothing about who she is as a person.
Right.
For all I know, she could be a serial puppy murderer. But I do know that about her. No Roofing, TLRoofing.com with that nasty weather that came through yesterday. Now is the time for you to get on it, man. Get in touch with Noto. Get them to come check out that roof of yours. It's going to be cloudy for the next few days, and then we're going to have some more rain and stuff over the weekend. It's probably going to be raining all weekend if as I'm looking at it. Kind of looks like it's going to be that way. So go ahead and set one up, man. Set one up for tomorrow or next week or whatever, just to make sure that nothing happened as these storms rolled through. Even if you had something happen and, say, a tree fell on your roof or you got some sort of damage and you need an emergency tarp job or something, call Noto. They can do that as well. They don't mind coming on out there at last-minute notice. They got a good team, and they are on it, dude. So get in touch with them. These are my boys. And so when you mention Andrew Mclain or you tell them you're part of the Hey Now Nation, they're going to know exactly what you're talking about, and they're going to put you on that priority list, that Hey Now priority list. 205-848-2299. That's 848-2299 online. NotoRoofing.com. Dexter's on the line. Dexter, what's up? Dexter, you hanging out with Michael Vick? What's going on here?
Okay.
See you, brother.
Hey,
Dexter, what's up, buddy?
Remember, but it reminded me of my first wife,
Black,
My first
transgender, and quadriplegic cerebral palsy?
Yeah, that's good that they let a person do that, and get a nice, good conscience. She left me for a black guy.
You got to
Well, bad.
were you the one? You're like, man.
But hey, that's good that they do it because there's a lot of people that don't take care of their young.
That's exactly right. That is exactly
You
right.
need to take care of your youngins, whether you can't or can. You need to give it your best shot. Anyway.
Amen.
Amen to that.
All right, bud.
All right, Dexter. See you,
Thank
buddy.
you.
He always brings wisdom.
He does. Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to taking care of your kids, there's not many excuses that I will accept as far as like why you can't take care of your kids, because it's not really an option.
No, it's
Like,
not.
it's not an elective thing to like, especially post divorce. It's not a choice as to whether or not you take care of your kids. Now, some people end up in situations where it's like, you're divorced and you could be the mom or the dad or whatever, and say the kid ends up primarily with the other parent, and the other parent is a piece of work, and like you don't want to send money that person's way because they're doing nefarious things with it, or maybe they've got a piece of crap girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, and you're like, you get what I'm saying, like, and so you don't want to do it, even though you got to, because you got to make sure your child's taken care of.
I got a question for you. You're very wise today. What do you think? Do you think it's possible, if it is known that, let's say, the mother is a ne'er-do-well but still retains custody of the child, is there any way that she could be required to provide receipts or something along those lines as far as, what she spends? That would be time-consuming, but
I don't think so, actually. I mean, I guess the ne'er-do-well has got to be a little more defined, because if it's bad enough ne'er-do-well, then it could then encroach on her ability to be the primary
Yeah,
custodian.
that was. I'm sorry, that was. Stupid.
But no, to answer your question,
okay.
I'm saying that by law, she doesn't have to spend that money in a particular way.
Yeah,
You're
see.
saying, like, if you send money to that individual, that they have to spend that money on the child. That is not the case.
Yeah, but see, if it's child support, because there's a difference between alimony and child support. They should be two separate things.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, as far as Alabama goes, there's
hard
no law requiring. There's nothing requiring the recipient to spend that money in a certain way. The recipient gets to spend that money however they want.
That's not right.
And they can use the excuse of, well, I'm spending this money over here on myself because I'm taking my other money and I'm spending it on the kid, or they could just be not giving the kid anything.
Yeah.
Now, if that's the case and the child is being neglected, even though you're sending money, then that's something you could take back to the courts and say, hey, I'm sending money and my kid's not being provided for. Then you've got something you can put in front of a judge, and the judge will make the decision. Because, as I note, the judge doesn't care about the mom or the dad. The judge cares about the child and the well-being of the child. So whether or not it benefits the mom or the dad, it's irrelevant to most judges. But, yeah, I mean, the short answer to that is no. There's not a way in the state of Alabama to say, hey, make her or make him provide proof that they're spending that on the kid. You're just sending money over there and just hope for the best.
Good, yeah.
And that's kind of what sucks about child support. If, you're in child support is necessary in many cases in order to force the other parent to contribute, but there's many cases where it sucks and another, the other parent is sending money down a black hole that knows it's being irresponsibly spent.
Yeah. I mean, and it can be male-female. I mean, it can be reversed. It's
right.
Not,
it can be either way. And there's people in this audience that have those stories. And, hey, by the way, maybe we do a show one day where we have people call in with their nightmare divorced, child custody stories. And we'll have it all sponsored by Chuck Davis.
I like that.
We could do it. We could call it the Chuck Davis segment, where y'all call in with your nightmare divorce stories.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
I like that. Or text them in. I'll read them off. You know what? Good idea. Let's talk after the show.
We're freaking geniuses, man.
Oh, man.
Speaking of, ChuckDavisLaw.com. If you are in that situation, reach out to my man, Chuck. He is my attorney. He has helped me with those very issues. I've had certain situations that popped up that even outside of, custody stuff, stuff related to the kid and injuries and everything else. I mean, he's helped me with a lot of different things, and he's always gone to bat for me. And what I love about him is he's straight up. He doesn't blow smoke up my rear end and say, well, we'll do this and that and the other, knowing that it's not going to work out. He's not that kind of guy. He's going to be straight up with you on the front end, and he's going to listen to you. What I advise for you to do is when you talk to Chuck, make sure you're 100% honest with him. Tell him exactly what's going on. Give him your side of the story, but give him all the facts, because that's going to give you the best chance to get the result that you want to get in order for him to understand. And he's going to be on your side, but give him the whole spiel and let him know, hey, this is what's what, and he'll figure out which direction y'all need to go to get the best possible result. That goes for divorce and custody. That goes for personal injury like car wrecks, a slip and fall, wrongful death. If it's simple stuff like probate, contracts, notary, real estate, wills, getting the wills done. We've talked about the importance of that. Get in touch with Chuck and make sure you tell him that I sent you. This guy's going to take care of you, man, 100% of the way. 205-823-9992. That's 205-823-9992. And online, ChuckDavisLaw.com. No representation is made that the legal services provided are superior to the legal services provided by other lawyers. 205-545-9950. Mike Waltz, UN ambassador, is at the UN. He's actually speaking at the moment, but I was listening to a little bit of what he was saying during the break, and he's saying that essentially he's telling the UN, and there seems to be some members of the UN on board with this, that, hey, we all got to get together. You need to pass a resolution condemning Iran's acts on when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, because it affects you all, and that we have got to bring an end to Iran being able to control said Strait of Hormuz. We're not going to stay over there forever. We're going to have to pull out at some point, and it's going to take those UN members in the region to police Iran when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz and tell them, no, you can't. This is not yours. This doesn't belong to you, and you're not going to be able to say who can and can't come out of here. Iran is still pushing an idea of charging a toll to tankers that pass through the strait, and that's just not acceptable. It's not. I mean, it's what happens if you put a toll on there? Well, it's just going to tack on to the price of oil that's going to be shipped all over the world, and Iran is going to benefit from it. Even if it's not even that much, it doesn't even make that much of a difference in the price of oil or price of gas, it's going to be benefiting Iran, and most importantly, still allows them to control it. Because if they're the gatekeeper through tolls, then if they get upset one day, they just close it again. And we're not going to live as nobody else, no other country should want to live in a world where Iran gets to dictate the price of oil. Everybody wants to blame Donald Trump for the price of gas. It's like, nah, Trump isn't closing the Strait of Hormuz. This is Iran. They're the ones doing it. And if they're going to do it now, they would do it any other time. Any other time that they get their panties in a wad. Any other time they or just have a bad day and chanting death to America and death to Israel. And they're like, you know what? We're going to close it because we don't like what y'all are doing. Can't allow it to happen. And it's not going to happen. So anyway, where are we at on all of that? As you know, we kind of, as of yesterday, put a pause on the Project Freedom, we called it, which would be escorting tankers in and out of the Strait of Hormuz for everybody except Iran, because they're still not allowed to bring ships in and out, which is causing their economy to crumble in real time. Put a pause on everything else and essentially gave Iran 48 hours or so to sign a peace deal that the White House feels like they're at. And people within the White House say that this is sources from the White House are telling media outlets that this is the closest that they've ever been to actually making a deal with Iran. A lot of that is because of pressure from China. China is rushing Iran to make a deal before Trump comes to visit President Xi of China. And so because of that, they want this to be a warm, fuzzy, they want it to be a good, productive meeting where the two leaders can work together on issues that benefit both countries. And they don't want to do it. Xi doesn't want to do it in the backdrop of what's going on in Iran. Trump could care less. Trump doesn't care because we're running the show over there. President Xi, who has been the one helping Iran all along the way, doesn't want this on the table. He doesn't want to have to talk about this. He doesn't want to have to answer the awkward questions. So they're pushing Iran. They're like, please, cut a deal. And it shows also how Donald Trump's respected on the world stage, where the Chinese do not want Donald Trump flying in while Iran is acting up. He was It was a report from, I think, Peter Ducey. He said this morning, he said ahead of a Trump trip to China, the Chinese are hosting the Chinese are hosting Iran. The Chinese are affected by problems with the Strait of Hormuz. It's not a coincidence that more progress is being made after China held talks with Iran. And so that all just kind of, as you know, ties together. But here's what we understand. This is the reported U.S.-Iran memorandum. This is supposed to be kind of the structure of the deal that is being looked at as a possible deal Iran's going to sign. And remember, Donald Trump is supposed to send his entourage a couple times to Pakistan to meet with the Iranians, and he finally said, you know what, we're not going to do it. We're not going to waste time coming over there. We can do all this over the phone. There's no reason for me to send my people over there at this point. Plus, you guys don't want to take this serious. What would happen with this one, allegedly, this is according to reports, is the Strait of Hormuz restrictions would be lifted gradually. This is if Iran signs a peace deal. Iran would have to commit to not developing a nuclear weapon, which is part of the whole deal. I mean, that's been the deal since day one. Iran would not be able to enrich uranium. They have no need to enrich uranium in their country, especially to the levels that they've enriched it, including the uranium that they would need for power plants, which is only 20, 25% or whatever it is. They also, as part of this deal, have to agree to enhance nuclear inspections and removal of the uranium stockpile. But to their benefit, the U.S. would release frozen funds and lift sanctions gradually. What are those funds that are being frozen? We don't know. It could just be recent funds that have been frozen. Could it be past funds? Who knows? But we have made a lot of moves in freezing Iranian assets just in recent history. So we'll have to see what the details are on that. And then there is a 30-day window after the signing of this deal for a full nuclear deal to be negotiated. They have 30 days and 30 days only to do a full-blown nuclear treaty, which would be the end-all, be-all of the end of Iran's nuclear ambitions and program. So that's where it's at. I think Donald Trump may even be speaking from the Oval Office at some point today. I don't know. I don't know what that entails. He's been just kind of throwing random pressers as of late. The one yesterday, John Bird, if you recall, when he had the UFC people in towards the end of the show, that wasn't announced or pre-planned. Well, I mean, I guess it was pre-planned by them, but I didn't see anything on the schedule about it. I think they just threw it together, and he had UFC fighters in there. They were giving some details on that and everything else, and then after that, he kind of sparred with some reporters, and
Yeah. Now, I mean, is that going to be televised or a pay-per-view? Or?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I don't think it'll be pay-per-view. I mean, it may be on a streaming service, but they don't really do. I mean, pay-per-views are kind of going by the wayside. With UFC in particular, WWE, they've all moved their pay-per-views to what they now call PLEs, which is a premium live event that is broadcasted on, say, Paramount. I think that's where UFC now does their pay-per-views.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question because I know Amazon carries a lot of stuff too. Sports.
WWE does theirs on. Are they doing theirs on Peacock? They've switched around. No, they're doing them on ESPN now. So if you have the ESPN app, ESPN Unlimited, that would be where you watch the WWE pay-per-views. But if you're international, you watch the WWE PLEs on Netflix.
Yeah, but what if you're not subscribed to that service? Then can you pay something to watch that? Not necessarily those exorbitant fees that were pay-per-view.
No, I think some of them you can get on YouTube internationally, or now the thing is it's like if you're going to pay for it, well, just pay the $8.99 it takes to subscribe for a month.
Yeah,
you
or
know?
get a free week.
Or get a free week or whatever. You know.
Yeah, you're right.
But
that was stupid, man.
There's not like a one-time fee just because somebody wants to just pay a one-time fee for old time's sake to feel like it's the old pay-per-view days.
Don't make me feel stupid.
But I'm saying it's a much better. That's how I think the UFC thing will go down. But maybe it won't. Maybe they'll carry it on network TV since it's, since it's at the White House, since it's at the people's house. I think it should be free for everybody.
I think so too. And man, we need to make sure we need to watch that.
Oh yeah, we absolutely will.
Oh yeah,
I love some UFC. But that'll be big. That'll be big. And America's 250th birthday all around is going to be big. The 4th of July this year is going to be lit.
Wow.
It is going to be so lit.